let's jump in with a discussion about truth and fake news, and how we can know whether something is true or false. Recently, a climate report was released that was commissioned by Congress. It was put together with scientists from I think 13 different federal agencies, and the thrust of the report was this warning about the intensifying risks that are coming from global warming. And President Trump's reaction was to say that he's not a believer in the report, in the risks as they've been identified.
To say that global warming is going to have dire effect on the economy of the United States and certainly of the world is to say something which is absolutely independent from the issue of what causes it.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't matter what causes it. Is it a direct intervention of God, or is it the consequence of what we're doing? Clearly, there are going to be consequences, and we have to prepare for those consequences.
One would think.
One would think
that one should, but it's this whole question of knowledge, Paul, which is really seems to call into question, because it isn't just Trump that is skeptical of science, scientific reports. It's a pervasive mood or moment right now where people are just very skeptical and trust their own judgments more than the judgment of a expert. Experts have fallen into ill repute right now, which I'm sure you don't take personally.
No.
No, but it seems to be an odd moment right now that Trump is taking advantage of, really.
Well, or actually is a symptom of something which is bigger in a sense. Which might be the thing which he likes less in the world, to imagine that he's the symptom of something else rather than being himself.
Yeah, so you mean, he's the sort of the sign.
What I mean, I think there's two dynamics, put it like that, involved in skepticism concerning knowledge, and especially concerning certain issues. One is a long-term transformation of politics in the United States, but not only in the United States, but in the United States in particular, since anyway, this is what we're talking about, which is that whatever people say is not to be understood as meaning what they say. It is to be understood as being taking position or an action in view of the goal which they're not telling us. So in other words, if you say you believe in global warming, that's not what you mean. What you mean is you're looking for a certain political objective.
Yes.
If you say you don't believe you're in global warming, again, you're not understood as saying this is what you believe. You're understood as taking a political position and working towards that goal. So in other words, whatever people say is not true. Because whatever people say, they don't mean it. They always mean something else than what they say. And this, of course, this, I think, from a Girardian point of view, is very clearly an effect of conflict. We only see the opposite. The other person doesn't say the truth. The other person is looking to win. To put it politely, in a less polite way, he's looking to screw me up.
Right.
And that's the point. So once we look at the world like that, then there is no place for truth. And that, I think, is a fundamental problem. Once we see the world, once we see whatever people say as moments in a conflict and a rivalry, there is no place for such a thing as truth, in the sense that we cannot see it. We have no access to it. We destroy our access to truth.
Because the what people say it's just concealing an ulterior motive.
That's what we think. That's the problem.
Yeah.
The problem. One of the reasons of skepticism is to always, so to speak, double guess the other person.
Yeah.
Right? You always think the other person is not saying the truth. Oh, you're saying this, but actually I know what you really mean. You mean something different.
Huh. It seems to explain why our political conversations in the U.S. right now aren't conversations. They're just staking out a position and then defending it.
Yes, and I agree, and that's why in my you referred to my keynote address last year, or rather it was earlier this year.
Yeah.
It's not that long ago. I said, terms like fake news, alternative facts, and so on are accusatory terms.
Mm-hmm.
They're not descriptive. They're accusatory. This is what we're doing. Whether it is Trump, whether it is Pelosi, it doesn't matter. Whenever people are saying such things as fake news, they are really they're making an accusation on the other person.
Right.
And then, of course, when all our discourse becomes accusatory, then, of course, we're skeptical about everything. That's just part of it. So that, I think, is one of the reasons why so many people are skeptical about so many things, and not necessarily particularly about science, but about so many things. And I think this is due to a long-term, at least, I don't know, 10, 15 years, maybe less, but evolution of the American political scene, which has become much, much more confrontational. Yeah. In other words, we are not people who disagree about political issues, but are working together as members of the same country in order to make things better. We are enemies.
Yeah.
And once the political scene takes that structure, then, of course, progressively, it makes it that nobody knows what the truth is and nobody has access to it. And that is true. I mean, that is true. That is a situation which we all share, because there becomes a point where, yes, we don't know. In the sense that it's very hard to be able to, as much as you try, to be certain, because you don't know what the value of the information is. Because actually, once people start representing others like that, they also start, from a mimetic point of view, of acting how they imagine the others are acting. And therefore, they also act for ulterior motives and do not say what they are really believing. They are saying other things, which is why whenever somebody arrives now on the political scene and clearly is saying what he or she thinks, we think, wow, this is so great.